Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Okay, so today we're going to work on a couple of things. We've got, I've rebooted my entire system, so this should hold together. I always hope, right? Hope springs eternal. Let's go. Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now? Because worst case scenario, I set it up for the microphone on there. Okay, what about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Do I sound really crisp and clear, or do I sound like I'm very far away from the? Did it switch to the? Maybe it switched out there to there. That would suck. Well, you know what? This works. So we'll leave it on default. Okay, so what I was saying was I was working. I was working on a piece last week called Officer Little Dipper, and it's a card for Earth Tau. A little runny, but okay, well, you know. I have a really nice board that goes to the line in of my computer. And my computer is getting squirrely, so it's going to go into the shop Friday. Which reminds me, there will be no show on Friday because the computer is going into the shop. So, no, yeah, not you, computer. You're good. Thanks. So, good morning, Tinny. Yeah, I figured running was probably Tinny, but that's okay. So you're not hearing it bass or anything like that. It probably doesn't sound different if I'm over here or if I'm right here. Autocorrect is fun though. It can be really fun. So It's all right. I accept runny or tinny. Both will work. Um, okay, so what I was saying was on Friday there will be no show because I'm going to be taking the old computer over here into the shop to be fixed. So it's going to be in the shop Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So um, because of that, it's going to get some modifications. We're losing a hard drive. It's not one of the critical hard drives at all. But C drive, the old C drive, is still in there. The old C drive started to make ticking noises about 3 years ago, and I swapped out drives, put a new C drive in, and moved the old C drive over and left it in there to so that I could copy stuff off of it. And the sound was choppy when I leaned in. Yeah, maybe I can just do this then. Pull it back. There we go. So, long and the short of it is that the computer. Let's see here. No, I don't see anything on the board. The computer has a hard drive that I copied everything off of a long time ago. Not good. Okay. So, yeah, it's taking the fourth out. So, oh, that's a good point. Didn't realize that the fourth was Saturday. Uh, I hope the computer place is going to be open on Saturday. Maybe they're not. I should call them before I make this decision. Anyway, maybe they can do it all on Friday and have it back to me by Saturday. Uh, so, anyway, long story short, too late. The hard drive that's in there it's failing now finally after 3 years of sitting in there just spinning and doing nothing. It's finally failing, which is what's causing all of the errors and weirdness that this computer is going through. So I've been meaning to do this for a long time. Take this computer into the little computer shop down the street where they're really good at this and they already know this computer backward and forward. Um, but I'm going to take that computer in and I'm just going to have them put it in a solid state drive for C and replace uh, that horrible crashed out drive that we've got going on in there, and then make that work. So we're gonna get there and we'll get moving and everything will be fine. And then that's what's going to happen next. So it's going to happen. I'm also going to have them take a look at things like my line in input, my power supply. I think is too low. It's not running all of my various things. Like I've got a light right here, which you can't, which isn't running because it's off of the computer power. Because everything's USB now, but they don't give you enough power in the power supply to run the USB. So there's that. So we'll have to figure it out. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking is go for the SSD. It's got no moving parts. Um, but they also have a limited time. But if I make that my C drive, this thing should load really fast. So we're going to go for a C drive that just has all of that on there. And then that should make this a whole lot easier. So we'll do that. We'll have them check that. I may even have them upgrade my video card and stuff like that. That allows me to give my kid my video card. This 1080 Ti, which is not a bad video card, but his video card can't even play like basic games. It's struggling with Minecraft, and so I think I'll give him my old 1080, and then I'll put in a better video card for me because I actually do play City Skylines a little too much. So okay, back to this piece. We looked at this piece, and what we had here on this was, as wonderful as this piece is, it doesn't read as a card. This is for Earth Tau, which is a card game, and that my buddies that a couple of buddies and that a couple of buddies are putting out, um, and they commissioned me to do a whole bunch of pieces for them. And so I'm going to try something with this card and see if we can't make it work. So we're going to try a little thing here. The card has a lot of little in-jokes, and the in-jokes are too small to read on the when they're 3 inches by 2 inches. So we're going to try to redo this card and see if we can't fix it. Right? Exactly, Donald. Donald's saying that my graphics card and my system, they have to be pretty sharp since I do art, but they've got to power this huge monitor, which does have its own independent power supply, but I'm noticing that I think what we've got is kind of a high water problem here. After a while, the computer doesn't have enough USB ports that work to get to this guy out here. So I'm going to have them put in some USB ports that are 3.0 and redo the system and stuff like that. And then we're going to talk about the fact that I'm powering 3 monitors here. So that's something that wasn't a problem the last time they had this computer. I didn't have 3 independent monitors, so there's that. I'm going to go on ahead and share my screen. And there we go. So now looking at this particular card, what we've got here is the original sketch that we had for this card looked like this. And I think we can do far better with this card from this sketch. So we're going to operate from the sketch itself and make sure we've got everything. And we're just going to redo this picture so that it reads. When we look at where this was, we want to look at this from far away. And the jokes that are there work. Ah, hello, Fred. Let me go on ahead real quick and load page 109 real quick so you can take a look. Lock some of this out. But at least now, this is the picture I redid for you yesterday, or maybe the day before, right? So, there we go. These are the guys we were working on here. Hoping that works. I made them skinnier, less, and made them look kind of like aliens, which I think was funny. And now they both look like they're intensely trying to manipulate the horse, which makes it even funnier. So I think that has upped it. Where are you on this one, Fred? So while Fred is getting back to me, because Fred needs to it takes some time for us to make the loop. I'll wait for Fred. We'll get back to Officer Little Dipper. All of the pieces here have to read at a distance like this. So the pieces that I want to make sure read are the ship. So we're going to move the ship. I feel like that's too close. We can push it to the line over here. There we go. So they're not really aliens per se. They're a mutation in his game that just happens to make them look like aliens. So they're not actually aliens. There we go. So looking at the distribution, now we have a lot. This is a little bit more what I'm looking for. Does it read from back here? It probably should. It should read fine. So, we tried painting, and I don't think that's going to work. So, just kind of operating from that point, we tried painting and not feeling like that's going to work for us. So, we're going to not paint this time. Human nose, slight brow ridge. Well, they do actually have human noses to some degree. We can fix that. There we go. It is. It is, in fact, I like that. So there's so much black in a space picture, because it's space. So there's so much black in the space picture that it's actually easier for me to do that. Ridge goes all the way across. It's gonna look like a unibrow. Yes, I believe that to answer Donald's question, where Donald's saying, are they going to make any rare cards like standard cards, and then the same card with a couple of differences or holographics? They are. In fact, I'm gonna on my tablet next week is a couple of cards for them where it is going to be completely. They've got like the card is the design is supposed to be like those letters in the when you look at those letters at the beginning of manuscripts, the old manuscripts, they had like gold inlaid in there, and so they were asking me to mimic that style, and I said that's great. We should do gold inlaid foil cards as an alternate on it because that'd be fun. So we're going to do alternates on that one too. So there will be things like that. So now we're looking at this whole thing. We want to make sure that we've got everything we're looking for. We're going to go back and do this in ink. So I'm going to have to invert it again. So we'll do the invert on this. And that you can see already, as soon as we did that, we lost our overlay. But that's okay. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and ink this. And I'm going to ink it in 2 stages. I'm going to ink the things in the foreground here, the donut and the plate and the coffee, because I want to see if I can make that be on a different, if I need to make it bigger or not. So we're gonna do that first. We're gonna come in here, and this is going to be top layer. We're gonna ink it in. For this, I want to put in a 45 point brush. So I really want to be able to do this kind of thing. I'm really just going to discuss the I'm going to describe the curve here. So one of the things that we've been kind of working with here is I have a number of pieces that I have done for these guys. So we were trying to kind of experiment and do different styles and different designs and stuff like that. This looks a little too much like a hand. Not enough like fluid flowing out. So I've done 17 cards for these guys at this point. So I've been trying to figure out a way to do their cards in different styles and things like that, because they're starting to look like the Guy Davis art deck, right? And I don't want it to look like the Guy Davis art deck. I want it to look like they've got varied cards. Although, looking back at Magic, when Magic first came out, you had the same 6 artists, sort of, pretty much. Not really 6, but you get the idea. There was quite a few artists in there. So there were only like a handful of artists who were in there. So what I wanted to do was sort of shake it up a little, do different styles, do different things, so that it wasn't obviously the same the same thing, right? Well, the problem is I'm still very amateur at some of this stuff. I'm not amateur at my style, but I am amateur at like painting. Painting is still new to me. I'm still not quite there with the painting. And so they're pushing really hard to get out the door and get this card game up and running. And so we were talking about it, and we all just both agreed. It was just like, my painting is not there yet. It's not there for professional work. So we'll just do painting here on the show every so often so I can get the hang of it, and we can practice new stuff, and we can do things. But for things like commission work, I'm just going to leave it back in my style. It's easier to do. It's going to be less hassle and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe. Certainly, if you come to conventions, you can get an autographed card. I would be more than willing to give you an autographed card. And probably I could push a discount. We'll see. Who knows? Anything could happen. So, we were just reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's kind of funny because my dad and my son are reading it together every morning now, for a while while we're out of school, things like that. So it's been a lot of fun listening to them read Hitchhikers, but it also is very entertaining for me. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is such a wonderful, wonderful book, and so it's a thing. So there's that. It's a good book. Always recommend it. Okay. Certainly, faithful fans who catch me at conventions would get, people who are here regularly will definitely get some kind of discount at conventions. So, okay, we're just going through here, and this is sort of a final on this. So I'm going ahead and doing all the work on here. You know, it would be funnier if not world's best, but universe's best. If it's right or not, yes. Universe is not as fun as galaxy. Galaxy is good. All right. There we go. Okay. So I'm trying to follow the curve and clearly failing. Follow the curve of the cup. So we're just going to go up here and we're going to do this again. Yes. Cheers to that. The only difference is that I, for some reason, have decided I don't like warm coffee anymore. I've never really been a warm drink person. I like cold drinks. Just pull this out. This has to scan, so that star. Right there. All right. That should scan and read even from a small distance away. I'm not that worried about the fact you can't read Galaxy's Best Officer, but just in case, I am able and capable to raise the point value on this, put it a little lower. This character doesn't have anything else on the front, which is one of the reasons why I did this in two different layers. Iced coffee is the best. And yeah, you know what you mean. Military coffee and teacher's room coffee are both like, that's the stuff that it's designed intentionally to kick us all in the butt and get us out there. Oh, hey, thanks, Norn. Appreciate that, man. Good old Ben Dunn, man. So, Norn Rad is a buddy of mine, and he's poking in to say he wants to let me know that Ben Dunn over at AP is looking for artists comfortable with animation. I have I've worked on animation before. Some of you guys know that I worked with Animated Farragut, doing filmation style animation for them. So, and I have a degree in animation. But it's nice of Norm to pop in and tell me that. I really do appreciate it, man. You know what? It could. They actually have item cards, and I'll bet you anything that Donald's saying that the coffee cup might show up as an item card later, and it might. It just might. That'd be funny. Anyway, I wanted to real quickly just do a shout out to Norm. Thank you, my friend, for that. I will hang over. AP is Antarctic Press, and they've been around for a long time. Antarctic Press is they've been putting out. Ben Dunn was one of the first manga style American artists that went mainstream. He did Bubblegum Crisis back in the day and The Dirty Pair in English, which was so fun and so much fun. And he did good work there, and so that's a thing. So I will definitely look into Ben Dunn and AP and see what is going on over there and see if they'd be interested in working with me or whatever. So we'll give that a shot. Okay, second thing we're going to do here, we already did top layer, so we're going to do middle layer ink. Give this a shot. I'm going to turn off this top layer so I don't get confused. The middle layer is everything on this zone without the ship, without the planet in the background. I think I can save the ship and the planet from its original background, and it'll be okay. But I want to go back through and just redo the this main character's line work here. So we're gonna go through, giving some wrinkles here on this. This is a kid who's got this hard suit on. Giving it sort of this look here of, oh, giving it sort of a, we screwed that up, right? So I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. Just go on here. The kid's using a speed gun. It's a speed trap for the spaceship going by. There's a few inside jokes on this that are good. On that one, I'm going to have the speed trap be the ship's doing 320,000 kilometers per second, which should be about 20,000 kilometers per second faster than the speed of light. So the whole point here, of course, is that light speed, it's not just a good idea, it's the law. I'm just sealing up my artwork here. A little bit more tight, just tight. His other arm is here. There we go. Okay. So one of the things that we can do when we're here is we really get the ability to give expression with a line. So, give a lot of. He might, but if so, it could be very. It'd have to be a very platonic relationship. Because sadly, Officer Little Dipper. The story behind this is that Officer Little Dipper was a police officer on the force who went back in time and ended up inhabiting his own body from an earlier era. So he's this hardened, hard-boiled egg sort of detective in a 15-year-old's body. So I feel like any story that involves a woman would have to be, she just thinks he's adorable and wants to hug him and squeeze him and call him George, and doesn't involve any kind of real serious relationship, because that'd be kind of creepy. That's my thought. However, like I said, I'm an old school junior high teacher, so those things instantly kind of make me on alert quickly. All right. We're just going to bring this around like this. It's not just a good idea, it's the law. There we go. These things were always shiny. At least they all are in my head. I'm just going to give it some completely unreasonable shine because he's in space. But that's okay. You know, it's all good. It's another one of those, don't look too close. you realize that I did it wrong. Don't think too hard on this. Okay. Just gonna go through here. On knee. Let's undo that. Boots have a slide in the front like this. There we go, just like that. And we're just gonna clean this up. Right, that's my thought too. He must have a blast working with, whenever criminals are like, oh, it's a kid. I can duck my way out of this one. So the guys that do this, Earthtown, are really freaking creative. And I love some of the things that they've done with their story. Because some of the stuff for their game is just so incredibly cool. They've got. I love the fact that at some point in time, they made it. Let's just make sure that's out there. Yep, that's good. They made it so that they randomly rolled dice, literally, to randomly generate their genders and their races and things like that. I think I chose the wrong one, which I think is really interesting. Anybody thinks anybody who's ever read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, it's a great book. And it talks. Blink is all about inherent bias. All of us have an inherent bias, and he's not talking about racism or anything like that. He's talking about inherent bias. The example he uses is an orchestra. I want to say the Philadelphia Philharmonic, but there's an orchestra, and they were primarily, and this is the 70s, they are primarily, they're coming out of the civil rights movement, they're coming out of all this, and they're finding that no matter what they do, they can't seem to find people of color, and they can't seem to find women, and they're trying. They're really trying hard. They're trying hard to diversify. They're trying hard to push those limits, and I think that's. And so they can't figure out what the problem is, and they're trying internally to figure this out. Nobody's putting pressure on them. They're trying to figure it out. And what they do is this fascinating thing. They put a curtain up on the stage that separates the judges from the people who are playing. And within a couple of months, they had completely diversified. And they were trying to figure out how it is that they had an implicit bias. And what they were discovering was it's not racism or anything like that. It's the same kind of thing. It was, for example, their best tuba player was this very, very small Asian woman. And it's just the fact that their presumption was that she was too tiny to have enough air in her lungs to play the tuba. You just made that presumption. She's very small. She's obviously, so it was a fascinating thing that they had made these implicit biases that they didn't even want. to do. And that's what Blink is all about. That book is all about implicit bias. And one of the things that I think is interesting is the guys at Earth Tau did very much a similar thing by randomly generating all their characters. They're getting rid of their implicit bias because they're letting the dice speak. They even randomly rolled their body types, which is way cool. I think you should have like that spike in front here. So, as an artist, I get the most fascinating character bios because they're random. They're completely random. And it's way cool. And then they just build the story around those characters. I think most of them, they built the story and then assigned physical traits to them. So none of it is, they didn't even let their bias, their implicit bias, go in on that, which I think is fascinating. Malcolm Gladwell is, he really does understand how people work, which I find really remarkable. He understands that, it's a matter of psychology. A lot of this is a matter of psychology. Okay. So we want him to look young. So we've got him looking young there. Put the star on his shoulder a little more here. My mom she had a 99% of a psychology degree. And so she routinely sort of psychoanalyzed me, which was a little bit disturbing, but that's all right. It's all right. I got over it. It's okay. It's okay. No. But I grew up with, she would do a lot of things that were just, like she'd watch people and how they would talk. And she could say things like, yep. The voice, actually, I think the voice's entire concept was based around Malcolm Gladwell's work. I think that's the entire point of that. Right? Now, the other thing that Gladwell was talking about with Blink was that the people who were performing, they could not do anything that would give them away. They had to wear sneakers. They all had to, nobody could speak. If you spoke, you were disqualified instantly, yada, yada, yada. So there was no way for them to implicitly bias themselves. I think that is fascinating. But the voice does a lot of that too. But I think it's built off of that work. And Gladwell is, he's a columnist. And so I find it fascinating that that's what he did. But like I said, my mom was sort of into this as well. She was very into the concepts and designs, and and what causes people to do whatever it is that they're doing. Um, and it fascinated her. And by some degree, that fascinates me. People fascinate me. We have a lot of like unrest and things going on in the world today that I think could be explained a whole lot better by psychology if people were willing to work on it. So I think a lot of this, there are a lot of people out there that I'm hearing that are talking about fascinating things. But I also have a very different view on what's going on today anyway, which we won't really necessarily bring up here because I don't want to bring politics into this show. But it is a thing. I am fascinated by that. So this is shiny. This is the upper grill. So I'm going to add the little shiny effect here. I kind of cut my teeth in drawing on it with an artist named Kevin Long, who worked with Palladium Games for a long time with Kevin Symbiota. And Kevin Long's technique for making things shiny was really attractive to me. So I've kind of tried to take it as much as I possibly can and work with it because it looks good. It's a good solid effect. It doesn't take a lot of work, but makes it look like it's shiny enough that you don't have to worry about it, And that works there. I mean, it does make that look like that's shining, makes this look like that's shining. Makes them look like there's some kind of chrome. I feel like his police car should be chrome. You know what I mean? So we're going to make this line very thick. It's the end of the edge of the artwork here. And so on this part. So I'm going to actually go back through with this as well. These won't show up because it's space behind there, but it makes me feel better to know that that's there, I guess. It also gives a very solid definition around the outside. So I'm putting a thick layer around the outside here to just give some definition. When I put stars in the background, though, this will give a distance point. It'll bump things out a little further. And it'll make this pop. This is a comic book trick that comic book artists use. And I liked it, and so I've adapted it to some degree. Even though I'm not a comic book artist, I'm a manga artist, and my style is a little different, because manga doesn't actually do this. This is not something that manga does. They put a white gap between, and that's how you get this. They just actually gap. And sometimes, depending on how much I want this to pop, I'll put the white gap in as well. Now, what I'm not going to do is the helmet. And the reason is because the helmet is going to be the helmet is going to be clear. I'm getting a message in from Christina Banhand, wonderful artist. And she's asking about NDK. NDK is one of those things where I'm not sure what's going to happen with any this year. So that's interesting. I hope you guys can hear me. Now, see, that's the other thing. On the flip side, there is a certain amount of truth to you. You know, you need to be good folk. You know, you got to do the job. Got to be good about things. You got to be nice to people. It's part of life. So, um, on a job that's, you know, you play a tuba. I don't know if that's necessarily something we terribly worry about, but I can appreciate if you have interface with people like you would for um, being a cook. I could see that. That's important. The original design for this had very they were they were talking about taxis that looked like they were from the Fifth Element. So I'm very much adding things like bullet mounts. You know, these like weird mounts that are on the side of the car that are lights of some sort. Uh, it is indeed. It's very much. That's something that always makes me sad is when people watch me draw and they're like, I could never draw like that. Yeah, you could. You certainly could. Everybody can draw. It's just a matter of practice. Lots of practice. This version better. So it's always sad when a piece comes back to the shop. It's never a fun day. That said, I have way too much fun sometimes with the second version of the picture, right? This version is a whole heck of a lot better than the previous version of this, right? Right? He polishes his car. He goes out, he polishes his car. However, looking at this, I can also see that this side over here is just a little too big. So I'm going to go back over and I'm going to clean that. He doesn't have any good view over here. So let's just tighten this down. And come around here and apparently drawing white. No, that's not doing it. I'm going to do this. This guy is ship shape in Bristol fashion, as far as this goes. I don't know if he's ship shape in Bristol fashion in real life, but I'm presuming he is. And I'm going to actually bring this up onto the top of the vehicle, which I think would be hysterical. As a cop, you've got like the lights blinking into the cabin all the time. It'd drive me crazy. But it'd be funny, and I'm all about funny. So I'm going to do just a little bit here to indicate there's a door there, because otherwise people will be like, "Is this door open? Are there doors in that spaceship?" So let's take a look at the overlay and double check to make sure that everything is working well on the card. Everything looks good. My position's fine. I keep this part out of the picture. I keep this part out of the picture, so it's all good. I don't necessarily have to worry anymore about the title because they are going to adjust the title themselves. You know, I just had that literal discussion with my child who got extraordinarily frustrated when he lost some aspect of, he was using Lego Digital Designer, and he had built a thing in it with Legos, and he had spent forever on it, and he worked really hard, and then he forgot to save, and he closed the program, which we all have to learn that lesson. That's a lesson we all have to learn somewhere along the line in life. But he was distraught because of it. He was very, very upset. So I told him, I said, hey, you know, that's the thing. Sometimes I dump the piece, and the second run on the piece is so much better than the first run on the piece. So why don't you go on ahead and try it again? And so he did. And his second run on that was a better thing. He fixed some of the design problems he was working on. He fixed some of the things where the Legos weren't quite right. He hadn't picked the correct Legos for the job. And he liked his second version a whole lot better. So I agree totally. It's exactly like Legos. And so I actually used that very analogy. I connected Legos to art, and it worked really well. Okay, so we've got the cop card here. Here's the other thing I'm looking though, is right here, right? The bottom of a light rack. I want this to kind of be this, like this, because his light rack's probably off. He's not pointing it yet. So let me go ahead and tell Christine that. Oh, David. Oh, no. 24,000 word picture you lost because of. I'm going to tell her I'm broadcasting. ATM. Call just after noon, if that's okay. There. Well, and in this case, we've got the we've got the fact that I'm trying to paint, and I don't think that's working just yet, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that the better choice is to go back to my normal style. There. So I'm just cleaning up all my lines and making sure that they're all solid. So making sure that everything, like little things, like, oh look, those lines didn't line up. Ugh. Yes, I hear you. You're not getting in my lap. That's you. You're not getting into my lap. So my cat is notorious for. She has recently decided she's a lap kitty. Recently decided she's a lap kitty, which I find funny. I'm not terrible worried now. I think we're on a roll. I think this is going to be fine. I think we're going to be doing great. So, I do think we need a star here, but is it going to be covered by? No, it's not. So, here's a great place for a star, right here. I'll rough sketch it in. And then I'll just go clean it up. This does give it a very U.S. Army look, though, which is fine. That looks. So I'll go in and clean that up. And I'll just get rid of all of the flash, right? Kind of this. Long-standing run like this, go through here like that. There we go. That looks much better. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So, there. Hey, Brent. Fred's meowing back at you, Dove. I don't know if that helps any. I hope that makes you feel better. But Fred's meowing at you. Right. So, it's good to see you, Brent. I've been kind of worried about you a little, but it's fine. I know that you're busy and you got work. I'm going to make this a bigger lens right here, like it's some kind of larger lens like this. Much better. Brent's barking at you, Dove. I don't. I think he has issues. I don't know. He's in training, and I think the training's starting to get to his head. That's what I'm thinking. But there you go, Dove. You're at least popular with the online crowd, huh? So these are. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they're headlights, but they're certainly some kind of lighting utensil of some sort. I didn't want it to look like a VW bug. Everything I draw sometimes just looks like a VW bug. I guess I'm secretly infatuated with VW bugs. I don't know. Anyway, I'd probably own a VW bug if I had the option. It's the one VW that I really like a whole lot. I do have a Jetta, but I really like the bug. It looks unique. Problem is, the bug's not really a family car. And frankly, do not like the new design on the bug. They're trying to. Yes, so spent some time talking to the guys at EarthTow, and we were agreeing that it was just too muddy. It's hard to read. It's hard to read the picture. So, yes, yeah, they barked at you, remember? Don't go up there. You don't want to be on tables. You'll just knock stuff over. Anyway, so yeah, The guys at Earth Tau, I was talking to them, and they were having a real problem uh, with it being too muddy, and I agree. It looks great at full size, and it looks really good at full size. But this is a card, and the card needs to be uh, 3 inches, and Bill Murray. Bill Murray and his army training, sir. That's beautiful. Gotta love it. Bill Murray was beautiful in Stripes, man. Bill Murray's a good guy. A little weird sometimes, but one thing I love about Bill Murray is that he will photobomb people. That cracks me up. Okay, so redoing all of this, got the middle layer ink in. I might be able to retain the backdrop, which might be okay, right? I'm not 100% sure. Like, I got that. No walking away here. So that's the spaceship. Where's the planet? There's the planet. We might be able to retain that part. Ew, that's not the planet. That's the spaceship. It'll still probably read, so I'm probably going to keep these. Although I might take the spaceship and move him down and over like so. I'll just see. And we'll see whether that works or not. What I'll do is I can bring this guy up and then just drop him down. And let's look at the sketch, right? The sketch is in screen mode, so we'll put it in multiply. And by my instructions on here, one of the things I want to do is move this. Sometimes it's such a pain. Move it down so it matches the sketch. Sketch puts this there, so we're going to keep moving it down and moving it over until it matches the sketch. There we go. Then we're going to take the spaceship, we're going to move that one down and over until it matches the sketch. The layout was explicit at this point in time, so we can do that. And then we're just going to let that one go for it. Okay, so we got middle layer ink. I don't think we're going to need to do a background layer ink because I think that the top layer and the middle layer are going to be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do color underneath here. So let's do a quick middling gray. For our mug and our coffee cup. Nope, top layer. So Control-Shift-I to invert. I'm going to take this gray, we're just going to color it in. I'm going to take out contiguous, we're going to do that. When you take out contiguous, then it doesn't fill through the lines like that. Yes, and that's built into the plan on this. But they can't have they can't have it be, and I totally agree with this. They can't have it be too. We can't have it be. Oh, I mixed that up. Select inverse. There we go. Bum. They don't want too many of the jokes disappearing inside the card, because that really would be a problem. So, okay, now with the grays in place, we can turn off those two and take a look at where we are with the card. And it does look like it pops a lot more here. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out. Take a look at the middle layer of ink. Do some little bits like this. That needs to be cut. And we're actually going to, it's hard to do, shift. Right. We'll go down this level. And we'll hit delete. Okay. So from this point forward, I have to remember to only use brushes from this point forward. But now that we've got this, I'm going to take this here. This is the primary color of the spacesuit. So we can take now and just select the car. Right. Find all the pieces of the car. Just like that. We're going to go down here to this layer, and now we can adjust it. We want it to be a police car, so we're going to do this. We're going to shift it to the blue. We're actually going to hit the colorize button, because it's not doing what I wanted it to do. It's a police car. Oh, I missed something. So let's go back, because we missed this part. So we'll do this. Let's hit shift. And that too. There we go. It's going to add the light as well, and I'm not that pushed. Because I've got to go through and do something with those lights anyway. So, image adjustment, hue set. I'm going to adjust it out. We'll turn it blue. It's a police color. Like, I like the old style police cars, the 50s police cars. That looks kind of cool. So we're going to do that. Okay. We're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to take his hair. Let's see. Image adjustments, hue set, polarize. And he's got brown hair. So we're going to, little brown haired kid. Do that. We're going to do the same thing with his face. Hue set. And all we're doing here is just the midtones. Okay, so everything else we're going to do differently. Okay, his spacesuit we're fine with, but we want the light up here to be red, obviously. That's it's red. Image adjustments, hue set, colorize, high saturation, low lightness because the lights are off, right? Those lights aren't on. Okay. So now down here on this, we can go through with these forward lights, which I feel like also should be sort of a red, like they're off, but they're probably red too. So I'm just going to take this color like this and go up to this light and just manually do this because there's a hole, a leak from this light, which is fine. I don't have to worry about it. It'll be just fine. There we go. And we'll go over here and do this one too. All right. Now a spacesuit is just gray. That's the way I sort of see it anyway. But he's got power colors of purple and a moss green, which is this color right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the star and the ring around the star. No, that's not it. And there, these guys. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Right. His other power color is a purple, which I don't think I can find a good solid spot for that at this point. So we'll work on that in a minute. But I'm also going to take this green and I'm just going to trim out his spacesuit. Originally, I had a light electric green going for this, but I feel like that didn't work as well. So I'm going to take this green here that's sort of a mossy color, and I'm just going to trim out all the little pieces on here. So, like all the pieces that might be just trim. You know, it's just some kind of trim on here. Right? A belt, all the clasps on his spacesuit, all of that seems like a good thing to have be green. And it works well. It fits the color codes of the suit, and it doesn't break it. And then what I'll do is I'll put purple in and trim the police car out in purple. So, okay. Oh, and I should probably also make this star green, which makes this even more like a military vehicle, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It still will work. So we'll just color this in manually. No major problem. Takes a few minutes here. Now what we'll do is we'll back up and see if this reads better. That reads a whole lot better, I think. Doing that makes this work a whole. The windshield is going to be mostly black, which I think I can. No, I guess I can't. I was hoping that I could just fill it in, but I can't. So we'll go to the middling layer and do this. I don't want it to be totally black. I want it to be sort of like this, sort of a bluish black. Originally, I had the stars reflected in it, but now I'm starting to think that what we really needed was just to have that. I can make that. So, okay, this guy, I'm going to make bigger. And that should solve all of our problems with the planet, like this. There we go. And the other thing I'm going to do with this, because the spaceship's sort of disappearing a little, is I'm going to take on the exposure, which ended up on the other screen. And I'm going to drop the gamma on it a little. Right? And that's going to darken it out. And then I'm going to take its offset and darken it. Okay, that's going to make it more dramatic. Like this. And what this is doing is it's going to make this spaceship pop more, which is what I really want. I want that spaceship to pop. Part of the complaint that we've got here, totally reasonable, is it's hard to read what's going on. So pushing that back like that should make that a little bit easier. You didn't? It's gsdavisart.com. And Brent's saying he didn't realize I had a web page, and I'm like, well, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, it's nice. I'm glad you found it. Okay. So now that we've done that, I'm going to make the ship pop more by doing the opposite of that. Okay? So I'm going to take this guy and bring him up. So, that. Less of a... If you go to my webpage, Brent, you can read all of Tamerlane, and you can read all of the comic strips from the first book of Springs, which is Nice Use of a Paradox, which is that first book. At some point in time, I'm actually going to work with Christina and Raphael, and they've got a little publishing company, and their Aya Publishing is going to publish the book for Nice Use of a Paradox, which is good because that'll be fun. There's 250 strips in Nice Use of a Paradox. It's a good little short reader. I can't do anything about Tamerlane, which is why we're making Bellatrix Rising, is because we can't sell Tamerlane. That's all right. So, okay. Now I've got those two really looking different so that they pop more and it comes across clear. Now let's work on Officer Little Dipper himself. We're going to go through here and we're going to add almost one a day. You have the original, yes. The purple cover book is incomplete because I hadn't finished all the comics in that run. Not only that, in the purple cover book, I've got them in box format. A friend of mine, a buddy of mine, was on a ship at the time, was deployed, and he was having a hard time because Navy computers were so lousy that he couldn't get a widescreen version of everything on his ship. And so he asked me to make it into a square, and I did, but the format just... Now he's off the ship, he's back on land and stuff like that, and he's got his normal internet connection. I sort of was like, well, Springs doesn't lend itself to a square box format. And so I went on ahead and just stretched them all back out again. So the newer version of Nice Use of a Paradox will have all the strips will be in 4-box length, like they should be. So well, welcome back, Donald. I don't know why the game app does that. Shadow. Okay. So this is the Shadows layer. Oh, you know what we should do though? So we should finish our donut layer. Right? Color? You can say color 4. Okay. And this one's color mid. we're going to go through here, and let's do a couple of things. First of all, this is a chocolate donut. Why is it a chocolate donut? Because I said so, and I actually secretly want a chocolate donut. It's not so secret now. I just said it live on air. You all heard me. I all want a chocolate donut. I just want a chocolate donut. So, loves me chocolate donuts. So I'm just going through here, and I'm making a donut out of this. Okay. Give it some nice light inner color like this. Little crumbs that are floating away, some color. The Alt tab is my back pen piece. I don't know what Facebook's problem is half the time. I don't get Facebook most of the time. I just broadcast to it. That's all. And I leave it alone. Let Facebook figure out its own things. I don't get it. I'm just going to clean up some of this. And I'm going to then go, and this is shine. So, don't erase it. This is shine. So we want to make sure that it's bright and shiny. It's reflecting, right? All of this is coffee going, wee, I'm bright, and floating away. Part of the humor of this card is the ridiculousness, the absurdity of it. So certainly the fact that his coffee cup wanders away is particularly humorous. Maybe. I don't know, maybe. You certainly could. Can't imagine why you wouldn't. I'm going to take this and we're going to just select the cup itself here. And I'm going to go through an adjustments hue set. I want this to show up, so I want people to see it and see the joke. So I'm going to make it a orangish red color like that, right? Now you'll see it. It's going to pop out. Part of what we all were thinking about last night when we were talking about this was that it wasn't showing. It was hard to see all of the jokes. They weren't reading. So shadows go on top of everything. We make those multiply, and we take it to 33%. And this is just black. So we're just going for black. And we bring in a bigger pen. So the shadows, we're looking at light coming from this side of the picture. So we're just going to go in here and just color in this. Right. Shadows coming from this side, so we'll even do a little bit like this, just to give some depth to what's going on up here. Same thing here. The lights themselves probably will have some kind of shadow going like this and around. Just erase real quick. Just give a cut edge to this. If you really like that, and I don't think I like this as much. So we'll have this go like that and across. Okay, so this then to make it look like it's we're going to give this a little bit of depth like this. This gives it the feel that that's a grill up there on top, right? Look at that. Kind of cut around like this. So this then goes across his windshield. We're going to do that as well. And we're just going to cut through here like this. We want shape and definition. Shadows define shape and definition. So when it comes down here, do this. That's going to give it a roundish shape. I'm really into this being a 50s-esque police car in space. So 50s cars, they did their whole, everything was, they were like, oh, we just realized we could make sheet metal form. So it was a thing. Sheet metal was forming everywhere, right? So we're gonna do the same thing here. We give it a roundish shape. Sheet metal, make that have that round shape. We're talking about the Monster Dog and John Carter. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I actually am not in control of this character's stuff. But as soon as up there, as soon as the guys see their Earth Towel logo up in the upper right hand corner, they'll probably bump this to their site, at which time they'll read it, which is good, because that means that any ideas that you have, they'll be watching for. So you're thinking it's a space dog or some kind of canine of some sort, which I think would be funny too. I agree. I think that'd be great. All right. And going up here, like this, I'm just giving shape to everything, right? Shadows give shape. Here on this bumper thing, I'm not sure it's a bumper. I'm not sure I know what it is. Give this shape. You can see what I'm doing here is I'm just giving shape to that, to the car. It looks round now. It's bold, which is exactly so we're just coming through here and we're cutting this section right here. I'm going to come back here like that. And you have just a little bit right through here. That defines this. And we'll actually come back in with some shine and do high shine on some of this as well. So don't worry. We got it covered. Oh, Brent, I'm not going to be broadcasting Friday. We're going to go on a trip to the mountains. So, and I'm going to put the computer in the shop. So the computer needs to go into the shop for various problems. Not you.
Retail establishments sell goods to customers on the premises.
Thanks. So since we're going to put the box in the shop, I'm not going to say the C word because clearly we triggered trigger Alexa. So just so you know, Brent, there will be no show on Friday. So I'm sorry. But that's just so I can put this guy in and get that hard drive that's dying out. So we're skipping Friday this week. Just this week. Not normally. Hopefully I can get the artist check in tomorrow. And have her. Okay. And then I'll put a little bit of shadow in here and a little bit of shadow in there. I hope Brent got that message. If not, he's going to be sad on Friday, and I'll feel bad. Okay, so we're just giving that there. Now what we're going to do is the same thing over here, right? We're going to give this the roundness that it needs. Like this. And usually we have two light sources, right? On most things. That's what good photography always teaches you is that you want two light sources. So we're going to give a little bit of a secondary light source here on this. But first we want to make sure that the plate looks like this. There we go. So we'll go under here and we'll get his suit. There we go, just like this. So what we're doing here is just putting in the suit shadows like this. Now, one of the things that may happen is this guy may still come back to the shop. I am taking a sort of a risk here, but I want to try to. Oh, probably. I'm probably sure that there is some magnetic system that holds him to his car. And I think it's funnier to think that if there is, why isn't that on his coffee and his donut? We don't know. It just makes me laugh. All these things make me laugh, right? I think that's part of the whole point of this is that it's supposed to be absolutely ridiculous, right? So we've got just a little bit here. We're going like that. And we're just going to bring this around like that. Perfect. Just like that. Okay. Now we got through here, we're just going to color in this zone. Right? We're just going to color that whole part in. And then right through here as well. And all this is going to do is make this just a little bit. There we go. Just like that. Just like this. This is giving roundness to his outfit and everything like that. Now we got to make sure that goes like that. And then this guy's going like this. Okay, so the backpack, one half of it is going to be in shadow, like this. So we're just going to do this here, and that gives depth to this entire picture. There we go. Come around like this. This here. Okay, so we've done that. As far as his head goes, I'm feeling like we're going to have fuzzy hair like this, and then it's just going to go up and over, like so. And his ear is going to be illuminated. Right. But I feel like his face might actually be somewhat in shadow, right? Which is kind of a thing. But he's turned away from us, so he's on the dark side of the moon over here. And a little I'll do is I'll just do this. And that'll make it work, because you don't ever want a face in shadow if you can avoid it. But I'll line up the front of his face like that. There. Just like this. And what we're doing here is I'm just putting in a bunch of shadows. Just define some of this stuff, right? Just define things. Like this is going into shadow out there. So there's that. Now that we put in that, we're going to put in highlight. But we're not. It's actually lights. Well, lights the other way around. They're switched. These guys are screen, and they're 50%. Okay? I'm going to do the other thing around here. I'm just going to go around, and I'm going to do this. It's not screen, it's overlay. This. And all we're doing is just giving the back of all of this some highlight. That may actually be too bright at 50%, but that's okay. We'll fix it. Right? And then in any color, it turns out fine. It turns out very bright, though. On gray. Because, of course, the color that it's choosing is. So there we go. That. And we'll come back around with this. And this allows for some very bright shine to kind of go through here, but it's just highlights in the vehicle, right? This. Like that. Let's go down here on my fender. Right, and then this one too. Which I think this is a problem. That's okay. And this allows us to certainly read well there. So we can definitely see what's going on here. We'll put overlay on here as well. And certainly on my. I have it done. Just want to. Is that so much to ask? Yes, it is. The good part about doing these overlays like this is I can cut them back as I want. Right? And you can go through here on the shadows and cut these back. Right? Just a little bit. Put a little bit up here on the front of his boots. I feel kind of like that's what's going on. Like this. And we'll do a little bit like that here, and a lot on his thigh. And this gives depth to this entire area right through here, and it allows us to see the highlight of this character, right? And come right here, just give it shoulder as highlight, which will highlight that a little. Okay, now. When we do the highlights out here, we're going to do a little bit of a different thing. Right? Now you can actually really see his speed gun, right? As far as hair goes, we're going to highlight just the back of his neck right here. And then we're going to go through and do this to his hair. And this will allow us to just see what's going on. You really want his head to be visible because we definitely want to see that. Okay. There we go. Now, as far as his windshield goes, pretty much are good with this being highlighted. Is that a word? Highlight. So, there we go, like that. We're just going to come along here like this. Whee. Okay. So there's that. Kind of do this too. So, there we go. Now the last thing we will do is highlights. Highlights are pure white, and they are on top of everything, and they aren't done in any they're not done with any blending modes because I really want them to show up. I want this to be dramatic, and people will go, oh, 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 right? But it also will cover things like this. Now this is a matte, so the donut doesn't get me highlights. Just with the plate will. And as will right here. And just a tap on the lights. Ooh, I drew. I didn't mean to draw that. There we go. Just a tap on the lights. We're going to do this one. Right through here. Okay, so now that we've done this, here's where we also do this. Right. And then we'll go on the other side here. There we go. Right here. Okay. Now that we've done that, that really pops. So one of the other things we're going to do now is I don't think I have. Nope. Hang on real quick. We have a new signature I'm using this for. So let's use the new signature. 25 minutes later. Come on. Oh, this is the reason why we need to fix that drive. Open with Adobe Photoshop. This is actually my Hanko from Japan. And I added the little skull and crossbones in here. But now I use this as, I'm going to use this as my actual signature now. What I will do is put this here. This, and then I will see what. There we go. So, here are a couple of things we're going to do first before we call this good, because this thing is almost done. First things first, I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to make it like this. And that's going to help make him stand out from the background. I can take this and make it into a blue. And once I do, it'll help just color everything back there just a little bit of a different color so that he stands out. Because we really want him to stand out in this picture, right? We don't want all that background stuff to stand out. So we're going to do this. I'm just going to bring this in and do something like that. Okay? That's the first thing we're going to do. That'll decrease the noisiness of the background. You want to just darken it? Maybe. Not too much. Also needs to highlight. Because of course there will be a highlight up here. And then on the shadows, no, on the color for the middle layer, we want this to be bright red. And it's only funny if you read it. So, if you can't read it, it ain't funny. So let's go ahead and put that in. We're going to go over by a minute or two right here, but I really want this to be readable, and then we'll call this good. Let's make them go faster. How about make it 3. $3.21. There we go. Now it says 321K. Let's look at it from a distance. You really can read that. It looks good. Everything's fine. So we're going to save this, and we're going to call this piece solid. Okay, there we go. And we fixed a problem that plagued us. So there we go, guys. Officer Little Dipper is rolling out, and we should be good. So we started about a minute late, and we're going to end about a minute late. Looks like everything's working just fine on the system, so at least I can be able to hold through the show tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to work a little bit more on Ron Fortier's pieces, which is another piece that I've got on there, and I appreciate you joining me on my show today. I hope you all are enjoying the new banners and all of this stuff down at the bottom, which now all fits. My little sub window now fits down in here and everything. Now they don't conflict. This doesn't conflict with words. So thank you for joining me, Donald. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone who is here today. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have an awesome day, folks. I hope you have a great day.